Good morning, my dear students. Welcome to the online video class session of political science. So, my dear students, we have been discussing about the third unit, which is titled as the center-state relations. So, in the part of center-state relations, we have been discussed about the federal structure of India, and as well as we have also discussed about the unitary structure of India. And here we have seen the federal features and as well as the unitary features. And we have also discussing about the center state relations. The constitution, according to the uh, various jurists opinion, the India is the quasi federal, like KC Veerwar was stated that India is a quasi federal structure because it has some of the features are relevant to the unitary system, and some of the features are very relevant to the unitary system. So that is why it is the federal features are there, and as well as the unitary features are there. So that is why it is called as the quasi federal. So in last class we discussed about the legislative relations. Actually, we have been discussing about the center state relations. The constitutional framers have divided the entire issues into three lists, such as the union list, the state list, and the concurrent list. Okay, so here again the, the executive, legislative, and judiciary. So like this, the powers are divided into three sections. So that is why in our previous class we discussed about the legislative relations between the central government and as well as the state governments. So article from 245 to 255, approximately 10 articles which were exclusively dealt about the executive relations between the center and the state. And today let us discuss about the administrative relations. So here the administrative relations also framed by the constitutional framers, and here the administrative in the process of administrative relations, the central government gives some kinds of advices, or the central government makes some kinds of laws to the central and as well as states. So that we need to discuss in a detailed manner. So before going to discuss, I was prepared a PPT for your convenience. So let's get into the PPT, my dear students. So here, uh, according to the Constitution of India, the administrative relations between the center and the state were incorporated in the Indian Constitution under the Article 256 to 263. So here approximately 8 articles are clearly explains about the administrative relations between the central government and as well as the state governments. So here I have given here a picture that it shows that the central government have some kind of authority to 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 to, to make laws, and that laws may be uh, relevance to the states, and that the states also sometimes used to follow that kind of the parliamentary act laws. So here article 256 to 263 exclusively deals about the administrative relations between the central government and as well as the state government. So here article 256 particularly it explains about the executive powers of the state. So the state executive powers, that state executive powers shall be exercised and to ensure the compliance with the laws made by the parliament, and that parliament laws are uh, existing in the state legislative. So it means the parliament laws which are amended, which are uh, enacted by the central government or parliament, that laws are very that laws may be existed in the in the state assembly. So it means here the both central government as well as the state governments make laws, but that laws should be uh, should not be deviated from the from one to another. The similarity should be there. The central government laws maybe apply to the state governments, because the central is the supreme, the executive body in the India. Then the central gives a kind of directions. So this article 256 particularly explaining that the center is giving directions to the state governments in the administrative manners. So it means if central government is making any law, that should be very relevant to the states in the state existing laws. And if the state is preparing any kind of laws, if it is against the constitution, the central government may suggest to the state governments to rectify or uh, to rectify the laws. So like this, the central government is giving directions to the state governments. And the another important point in the administrative relations, that here the article 250 261, so it explains about the cooperation between the center and the states. So here must and should the state and center has to be cooperation. Of course, in the present context, there are various kinds of the internal disputes between the center and the state, because the central government is ruled by some other party, and sometimes the state governments are ruled by some other parties. So sometimes a kind of partiality is shown by the central government towards the state governments, and some kind of partiality is expressed by the central government to the same ruling party where central is ruling and where the state is ruling, the same parties. So such kind of situations, the central is showing some kind of uh, bias or some kind of discrimination. This is quite common in the present context, politics. But according to the article 261, uh, there should be cooperation. That cooperation should be healthy cooperation between the central government and the state government. So if any natural calamities are takes place in the state should ask to the center to give a helping hand for their helping hand. If the center is uh, if center maybe helps to the same ruling party is there in the state, the helping hand should be somewhat more. And whereas the opponent other party is there in the ruling, then a kind of partiality, a kind of bias is expressed by the central government. But must and should there should be a cooperation between the center and the state. And another important administrative relations in the center and state is the all Indian services like IAS, IPS, IRS. The UPSC is under the control of the central government, and the UPSC chairman is appointed by the President of India on the suggestions of the Prime Minister of India. So the central government is appointing or conducting examinations to the IAS and IPS and IRS, and that IAS and IPS are allotted to the state governments. For example, if our chief secretaries or another IAS IPS personalities are not belongs to the Telugu people, they are belongs to various people, various states, because they are appointed by the central government. So here the central government whole and sole authority towards the all India services like IAS, IPS, and IRS, but they are appointed by the central government, or they are appointed by the central government to the states, and they have to render their services to the state governments. For example, we have Smita Sabharwal. She is not belongs to Telugu, and present the chief secretary Somesh Kumar is not Telugu. He is a Oriyan people. So like that, they are all Indian services people, and the integrated judiciary system. Here in the integrated judiciary system, the Supreme Court is the highest, the supreme law of the India. But each and every state has the high courts. The high courts judges are appointed, the chief justice are appointed by the president of India. So and the high court judges are appointed by the collegium. So like this, if any case is not, uh, if a particular victim is not satisfied with the judgment of the session court or high court, then he can uh, transfer his case to the Supreme Court. So here, an integrated judiciary system is in the Indian Constitution. Actually, this the judiciary system. In the judiciary system, the Supreme Court has so many cases were came to the notice of the Supreme Court again and again, and in the that such kind of cases, the Supreme Court is given judgments against the previous judgments. So it means it has own the discretionary powers to the Supreme Court towards the judiciary review. And some of the another administrative relations in the central government and the state government is the relations between the center and the state during the emergency. So during the emergency, the state authority completely uh, kept silent, and actually the in the emergency period, the president of India can rule the state. So here, the legislature's role are completely kept silent, and the executive role will takes place. So like this, there are various kinds of administrative relations between the center and the states. So once again, I'm repeating that the first relation is about the center is give a kind of suggestions to the state governments, and the center state should maintain a kind of cooperation between the center and the state. And particularly in all Indian services, the central government is uh, uh, took, takes more initiative than the states. The state government does not have any role in the all Indian services. And at the same time, the integrated judiciary system, like the Supreme Court at all over India, which is the supreme authority, uh, judiciary authority, and the state governments have the high courts, and at the district level, the session courts, and the relations between the center and the states during the emergency time. So here in the during the emergency time, the legislature completely collapsed or kept silent. They doesn't have any the influential role at the time of the emergency. The whole and sole authority is handed over by the central government, and the president, the presidential rule will continue up to uh, the situations were controlled, or up to the re-elections. Actually, the time is approximately 6 months. But if it is not, the situations are not controlled within the 6 months, the emergency period may be extended one more time, means one more 6 months. So, like this, there are various kinds of administrative relations between the center and the state. And another relations are the financial relations. Here, the financial relations are most important between the center and the state, because the central government gives a kind of funds to the state governments. Even of course, the state government has collected their own taxes from the people, but the central government also collects some kinds of people, and that the funds transferred to the states itself sometimes. So like this, the financial relations are more important. So here the financial relations are explained in the part 12th of the Indian Constitution, under the article of 268 to 293. So here approximately more than 25 articles exclusively deals about the financial relations between the central government and as well as state governments. So here, for example, if you take the central governments or state governments allocate various taxes on the people. So here the central government have some kinds of rights to allocate the taxes. For example, VAT, value added tax. And the constitution has provided the union government at the state level, uh, that the state government can allocate the powers to the centers, and the state has to be follow that kind of powers which is allocated to the center. And the parliament has exclusive powers to levy taxes on the subjects mentioned in the union list. So we discussed in our last class that approximately there are 100 items are listed in the union list. So all the matters of the union list, the central government has full and full authority to impose the taxes on the union list. And whereas some of the uh, items were kept into the state list, like 62 items were kept in the state list, and in the in the matters of the state list, the full and full authority is given to the state governments to impose taxes on that particular issues. And some of the items were kept in the list of the concurrent list. So in the concurrent list, present approximately more than 50 items were there in the concurrent list. So in the matters of concurrent list, the central government has more power than the states. The central government collect the taxes and supplies to the states. So like this, these kind of financial relations is mentioned in the Constitution of India under the Article 268 to 293 under the Part 12th of the Indian Constitution. And here both the parliament and the state legislatures are empowered various taxes on the various subjects mentioned in the concurrent list. But the parliament has exclusive powers to levy taxes on the concurrent list uh, than the states. So it seems that the parliament has the supreme authority or the highest authority than the states on particularly uh, on the list of the concurrent list, on the matters of the concurrent list. And finally, the central government was established the Interstate Council under the Article 263. So here the Interstate Council helps to strengthen the center-state relations, particularly in the administrative relations. So the decentralization of powers to the states as given by the constitution, and the more some of the functions, some of the powers, particularly the financial resources based powers have given to the states, and the arrangements of the devolution of such ways uh, in the matter of to fulfill the obligations of the central government. So these kind of provisions were kept in the interstate council. So here, an advancement loans to the states should be related to the productive principles. So these kind of functions were performed by the interstate council, which is mentioned in the Article 263. And the deployment of the central amended forces in the state either when they are required. For example, if some natural calamities are taken place in the state government, so then automatically along with the state forces, the central forces also comes to the state. Such kind of situations when for example in the tsunamis took place in the Andhra Pradesh. So at the time the central forces are came to the state. So like these kind of situations, a separate fund to the allocated by the central government to the interstate council. The interstate council is tries to strengthen the relations between the center and the state, either it is the legislative relations or either it is the administrative relations. But it is the very low interference in the matter of the financial relations. So this is about the central state relations. So my dear students, here I am winding up the session. So generally in a competitive point of view, many questions used to ask about uh, this concept. And in a annual point of view, generally the examiner may used to ask, write about the center state relations in the Indian constitution. So then we have to explain about the brief introduction about the federal structure and the division of issues like central, state, and concurrent, and the division of lists like executive relations, administrative relations, and financial relations. So this has to be right in a systematic manner, step by step. Then we can get a full length of marks. So sometimes they used to ask only administrative relations, and sometimes they used to ask in only the financial relations. So if they asked about the administrative relations or financial relations, maybe it is a short question. But if they ask full, right about uh, the center state relations, then we have to mention the three types of relations like executive relations, legislative relations or administrative relations, and financial relations. So like that, we have to keep in mind the the three types of the relations between the center and the state, along with the federal structure. Then only we have a clear cut idea about the center state relations. Okay, so my dear students, take care. Bye. Bye.